welcome back. Hope you had a good meal, spiritually and physically. At this time of the year, the sun sets quicker, right? So, earlier, quicker, earlier. All right? All right, so last week we started another lesson in the series. All right, so the series is Dressing on Earth for Heaven, Glory from Within to Without. And this is dealing with the aspect of dress reform. That's what this series is about. We actually started in August and we took a break, basically most of October. And we are back. We finished the lesson of appropriate for this age. And now, last week, we started afresh. She wears the pants. How you felt about last week? She wears the pants, all right? We learned some background, and we're going into a little more of the history. And today, I'm going to give some assignments so you can be involved in the Bible class, all right? I'm going to give some assignments, different persons, and next week, you should come with some information, all right? Get the church involved. You should come with some information next week. Right? So make sure if you get the assignment, you come to church next week. Right? The angels record that. So don't skip next week because you're going to get an assignment. All right? All right, let us pray to begin. Loving Lord, eternal Father, here we are, your church, your people, on this your holy Sabbath day. We thank you for sparing our lives to see this day. We continue to worship you through the studying of your word and your testimony as we look at the issue to come in alignment with your will. Bless us now, we pray, in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, let me remind you again that the space is small. If you're chattering, saying something to somebody beside, I will hear. Even if I don't hear distinctly what you're saying, I will hear the all right? And that affects me, my focus, because it's heightened when I'm presenting. All right, so let us remember that. Remember, it's Bible class. I am very happy when you get involved. Your hands go up. Questions are asked. My friend is not here today. You know what I'm talking? Oh, Bible class won't be the same. All right. All right, so let us begin. So we're dealing with part 2. She wears the pants. You know I always start with the Bible, little Bible study. So the Bible says in Ephesians chapter 5, starting at verse 21, that all of you know so much. Let's go again. Submitting yourselves one to another in the fear of God. This part of the scripture is dealing with family life. All right? Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husband, not to somebody else's husband, you know. Your own husband as unto the Lord. And I want to make something clear. The aspect of she wears the pants, we have established from last week that it's a power struggle. Clear? All right. That goes directly against this. This that we're reading right now in the Bible, wives, submit yourselves unto your own husband as unto the Lord. I want to say something. You might not say it out, but the fact, when we begin to read that verse, if right away something comes in your head, as you hear that verse, you start to, well, not submit to any, you got a problem. You have a submission problem. Let me do it again. You might have not said it out, but immediately when you went to that verse and start reading, and if in your mind you're like, see, I'm not submit to any man, you have a submission problem. The issue is not the man. The man has his part, and I'm going to show you. Now, remember what I said today. Your Christianity depends on you. It's not what someone does to you for you to react, but it's you and the Lord. When Jesus was with his Father, when he was on earth, they pulled his beard, everything, he didn't react because he had that connection. So you can't say it's because of. All right? So God has a message to husbands. he has a message to wives. And wives must not be caring about what is the husband's message. Who must care about that message? Husband. Wife should care about what? Her message. Because let me ask you, what will God judge the wife on? The husband message? No, he's going to judge her on what? And then, when the judgment comes and she says, but you know what, God, may I tell you, more I submit to the man, but the man get trouble. God, he's not the... No, God is going to judge you on the part that he gives you. So, let's see what he says to the wives. Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husband. Some wives, some women have a talk to say, well, I mean, run things, I'm not talk X, Y, Z. Now, that language deceives this verse. Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husband. You notice I put in red wives, and what I put at the end in red? As unto the Lord. So, there are some women who also have a misunderstanding of the submission. They not only submit themselves, they submit even their salvation. Let's do that now. So, each of us have an individuality. Can you agree? You getting distracted at the back? Each of us have what? An individuality. Now, when the Lord says, wives, submit unto your husband, what is God talking about? Tell me what is God talking about? Remember, it's Bible class. It's your time. Obedience. Somebody said the will? Who said that? Respect authority. Brother Campbell, where's my mic, little man? He's there? He's ready. Brother Campbell, what are you saying? Talk to the church.
You have to submit the will to the husband, but you have to understand the context. Because remember, ultimately your will should be surrendered to God and him alone. However, we understand that the individual person is who you are, and that is what God works with. However, as unto God, you submit your husband, you submit your will. Not necessarily that you're going to submit your soul to him as the entire being, because you have a part to play, so you have to get rid of self out of it.
Self. Did you know God put marriage in place? Even though it was in place before sin, it remains after sin to save both parties. Did you know that? Did you know that? Self has to die to become married. You didn't know. If self is not submitted to God, the married people who are here are those who are married before. You tell me if I'm telling the truth. If self is not submitted to God, problem. Some of you have been through it, experienced it, and some of you are still in it. If you're still in it, don't look to the left or the right. Just stay focused. Just look at me. Listen what I'm saying. Listen what I'm saying this afternoon. Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husband as unto the Lord. So, when I see that, I'm going to make a bold statement. Marriage is for Christians. Can you see it now? Marriage is for Christians. Hold on. If wives, submit yourselves unto your own husband, and it closes that verse by saying, as unto the Lord, if two people get married and they don't serve God, God is not in the midst, how are you going to seal up that verse, as unto the Lord, when they don't recognize the Lord? All right? Marriage is a pure, holy thing, which can only be entered in by people striving for purity and holiness, as unto the Lord. The she wears the pants scenario destroys this altogether, because it's a power struggle. So, there's a big debate today in the world, and you see they have a lot of talk shows. Should a woman submit? Is that the old days? What about today? What if she makes more money? Look in that verse and tell me if any of that comes in. Wives, you know what is do you know what's the qualification for a woman to submit? Once she becomes a wife. A wife. When she's not a wife, she still submits to God, because he's the husband. He always becomes a husband. But when she gets her earthly husband, she submits unto him as unto the Lord. I give you something else out of the verse. I love Bible, you know. If it says, wives, submit yourselves unto your own husband, as unto the Lord, the text is trying to say, look, she would have submitted unto God first. That's why now she's going to submit to the man like how she did to God. Bible sweet, you know. So watch me now. So watch me now. Wives, if you're not converted, no, fix that, preacher. Women, if you're not converted, if you have not reached that place, you don't understand what submission is because you have not yet submitted unto the Lord. Therefore, you're going to have a problem to submit to the husband because you don't know to do it as unto the Lord because you don't learn it yet. Husband, I'm coming to you, you know, hold on. Coming to you. You see verse 23? You see who it's addressing in verse 23? So it's your time now. All right, let's.
So, so I have a question then. So, more like a statement. So when Sarah, Abraham's wife, would have called him Lord, right? We know that she was not referring to our God, right? However, it would have also, reading it now could show that context of respect and honor, right? Because remember, when you respect and honor him, you do it unto the Lord, which is also your reasonable service as a wife to your husband.
And some would say that was Bible days. You ever hear those type of language? That was long time. Can I surprise you today to tell you that God's word is timeless? Did you know no matter what time it is, it doesn't change? It's the same thing. You notice back then you have the term wife, and now you still have the term wife. This still applies. All right, I saw two hands. Sister Karen, you ready?
Yes. A statement that although I understand the principle and the context, it was just said that marriage is for Christians. I think that's the statement. What about some unbelievers, non-Christians, who are married for many years, having good relationship, a good marriage, and some Christians cannot have that?
All right. So here's another thing now. When we use that context, it's good that you brought it up. The question we have to ask ourselves, the term good marriage, what does that mean? Because here's the point now. If the spiritual aspect in the eyes of heaven, watch me now, good is not as unto our estimation, but is unto the estimation of the Lord. Now, I know what Sister Karen is saying, because what? That man might be a deacon and she is a church clerk, and he's blackened in her eye, and they're married. Yet still, those two persons are married, and they have never done that. So that's bad on the church, and that's good that has never happened. Love. But does it mean that in the eyes of heaven, this is bad, you know, but does it mean in the eyes of heaven that it sees that marriage as fulfilling unto the Lord if the spiritual part is not in it? So you see how the world looks at things. The question is it according to the estimation of God? It is still bad though, you know, because, but another thing we could say, watch this now. They might be church clerk and deacon, but that does not mean they are Christians. Hold on now, hold on. But they go to church, they are baptized, they're working in church. That does not make you a Christian. Can you follow me? So probably they are in the world because they are not professing God. Watch me. But probably their heart is closer to God. Versus they might be visibly in the church, but far from God. But it still don't change the context. As unto the Lord, who made marriage? Where was it first blessed? So it's for God's children. Marriage is made for God's people. Are you there with me? Now, not all people are God's people, because you have to choose to serve the Lord, to be God's people. All right? Some are children of Satan. Somebody say, all of us are God's children. No. All of us are made by God. But we have to choose to be God's children, because he doesn't force it on us. All right. Sister Brown. All right. Let Brother Patterson's hand was up first. Then I come to you. Then we go back to the screen.
A question here.
He has a mic here.
Why is it that Seventh-day Adventist ladies hate the word submission? Right? And another one I'm going to put to it is the fact that why is it that I hope nobody throwing a stone on me now. Why is it that most ladies rather to live alone more than to say, listen, I'm going to get married?
All right.
Is it that they are not converted? Just a question.
Fine. Let's go to Revelation. What era of the church are we living in? What is the problem with Laodicea? Rich, increase with good, have need of nothing, not knowing that you're naked and blind and wretched. The answer to your question, we live in a time, let's be honest, where women are being far more successful. Things have turned. They are the bosses. They are going to school. Some of the boys don't want to finish school, can't bother with the university, the long reading, and they work with their hands. While the woman, we call it in the corporate world, they climb up the ladder. Watch me now. When that happened, according to woman liberation, submission is a problem. Do you see it? The problem we are dealing with is the condition of Laodicea. It has crept into the church, and the Seventh-day Adventist church have become more like the world and further from God. We have masters, degrees, PhD, so much so that today in the church, whether you want to admit it or not, it's a fact that many of us are judging our own brethren by the same standard of the world. We do it with leadership. We choose them based on the same standard. He is a master's, he's a doctor. We do it. And that's a sign of Laodicea. We are rich, increase with goods, have need of nothing, not knowing that you're naked, you're blind, you're wretched. And so these standards, what we read today in the sermon, remember the quote? Old time, old-fashioned, what we need? Old-fashioned religion. So what do you think Laodicea are going to do with old-fashioned religion? What are you talking about? And so, Brother Patterson, your second question is the same as the first. Because of that, there's an issue with submission. And so they take seemingly the easier route to do what? Stay alone. Right? Until the nights get cold. Until XYZ and XYZ and XYZ. Because guess what? A degree will never fill the place of a man. What a man ought to do. And I'm not talking about boys, you know. You have old boys, you know. Some boys are 50, you know. All right, I'm talking about a man. All right, Sister Brown. And then we go to the screen. Go back to screen.
I'd just like to go back to this statement again, that marriage is for those persons who are Christians. Could we then safely say that the statement, what God has joined together, let no man put asunder, could we say it does not apply to persons who are not acknowledging God in their relationships?
Marriage is from God. Let's start there. Marriage is from God. The very concept of a man and a woman joining together, committing, it first came from who? Nobody can deny that. Let's start there. The other question though, I'll say this to you, the other statement, and this is coming from the spirit of prophecy, there are some joined together at the altar that God did not put together. Amen. Now, knowing that that statement exists in the spirit of prophecy, might not have the specific reference now, but knowing that it exists there, I know it exists there, then I can answer your question. I want you to understand sometimes I pause, you know. Question is good, yeah, but you have to pause, right? So you answer properly. Knowing that that statement exists, my answer to your question is, I don't want to go and be absolute and say, all right, watch me now. Once it is not a Christian, then God didn't put them together. We get in noise. Are you guys following? You can't be so easily distracted, you know. When people come in, you don't have to look until they sit down. Focus. They'll find a seat. All right. So, this is what I'll say though. Every marriage that takes place, some put together by God. Some was not put together by God. Are you there with me? But, nonetheless, can God still get the glory? Yes. God can still get the glory. All right, I need to get back to the screen. Your hand is up. I'm going to take it because you've never put up your hand. Brother Campbell?
At the same point, I just wanted to give a scriptural reference to it.
All right. Hold the scripture. Let me take, I know Jeggy is not the right age. Brother Edwards. Let me take Brother Edwards. Let's take Brother Edwards and let's go to the screen. Brother Campbell, see you with me. The time. Probably get it text later. Let's
okay.
Go.
Tying what we're discussing now with a point you made in the sermon earlier, in response to ministers marrying people. And the fact is that when God put Adam and his wife together, there wasn't a declaration from the state. Okay. And all those marriages that went after Abraham, Isaac, and so forth, the state wasn't there to put anything in writing as to say that they are joined together. Yes. And putting a flip on it now, there are many marriages that the state would have as being annulled, but they are still married in the sight of God. The point I'm getting at is that we, because of tradition, have it now where the state has to enforce a marriage, but it was not so in the whole time religion. So I'm thinking that if it reach a point where marriage has to be done by a minister without the state recognizing it, that's how it was before. So I don't see it as being a problem.
I follow you. I follow you. All right. Let's go to the men now. Verse 23. Because I want to tell you one of my problems with men. Men read 22 and stop. Let me do it again. I want to tell you one of my problems with men, and I'm a man. Men read verse 22 and they stop. I have a problem with that. Verse 23. For the husband is the head of the wife, and they love that too. But it doesn't stop. Even as Christ is the head of the church, and he's the savior of the body. It says, therefore, as the church is subject unto Christ, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything. And when you're doing counseling, the men love that. Because here's what it says, the wife should submit to him in everything. The only thing she shouldn't endanger is her soul. So if he's going to hell, pull out of that. Are you there with me? For the saving of your soul. But once it's not that, the truth is you should submit as in everything. But the text is not done. Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church. Hold on. You mean I must love her when she's not lovable? Oh, yeah. Let's use what the text says. Even as Christ loved the church. Now, let's look at how Christ deal with us. You're always lovable? You're always obeying God's word? Does his love change? That's the love. And come on, gentlemen. You know that you can't do that. So, before you enter a marriage, who needs to live in you? Because some of them women are not easy to love. But you're not easy to love either. Are you there with me? You see, it's a conversion issue. Do you see what our problem is? Husband, love your wives. It never said when she a good wife. When she cook the food. When she not miserable. When she not going through that period and she nice. No, it just stops. It said love your wife. Even as Christ loved the church. And if you want to know what love he's talking about, use the one as Christ loved the church and think how he loves you. Even when you didn't love him. And gave himself for it. All right? And that's why I am very serious when I said the wife can't be running from the roach and you are running from the roach. Because if you are running from a roach, you can't give yourself for her. When worse situation come, you're going to run first. I remember at NCU, there was a little dark alley that we would take. I would take it too, but it wasn't safe. Anybody could hold you around there. But it was a shortcut that would get me to the house. Old time people say shortcut draw blood, long walk bring sweat. But we would take it. But I remember one evening, I was heading to the main gate, NCU, and I was a part of a club called North Jamaica Club. All right? So the conferences have spiritual clubs on the campus. Yes, I wasn't in Central, I was in North. And I see the guy hysterical in front of me. I know him, of course. I say, what's wrong? So, and the thing is, the problem was that he didn't act fully man. So, he had a little, but he wasn't. You follow me? Yes. So he was walking through the pathway with his girlfriend and some other females, and a guy come up on them, and he run away and leave all the girl. He run gone, and he's the only male. And so when he bumped me up at the gate and telling me the story, I said, listen what you're going to do. I said, where are they, X, Y, Z? And I told him, don't tell anybody else. No, I can't tell nobody that. He ran away, left his female and her friends. He can't tell anybody that because that's going to look bad. You understand what I'm saying to you? So the man, if you're going to give yourself, if Christ gave himself for it, the man is the protector. He's the what? He is the protector. All right? So, gentlemen, one of the qualifications to go into marriage is fearlessness. You don't believe me? One of the qualifications to go into marriage is what? Fearlessness. If anything is happening in the house, who will the wife go to? Can you imagine it the other way? Honey, I see one big lizard out there, and she gone to face the lizard? Oh. No. Because he gave himself for it. Verse 26 says, that he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word. Verse 27, that he might present it to himself a what? Glorious church, not having spot, wrinkle, or any such thing. Do you know when the right man is with a female, she gets better? Amen. You didn't know that? Amen. Yes, she gets better. Better in everything. She all start look prettier too. It's true. No, it's true. So Christ has this effect on the church. A godly man will have a good effect on his wife. It says here that he might present it to himself a glorious church, and having spot, wrinkle, or any such thing, but that should be holy and without blemish. Verse 28 says, so ought men to do what? Love their wives as their own bodies. Only a boy will hit a woman, but a man will never do that. A man will rather walk away even if she lose her mind and slap him. Because only a woman who loses their head hit a man. Only a woman who loses her sense hits a man. Because if he hits you back, you cannot take it. Testosterone will always overpower estrogen. God made it that way for the man to provide, protect, and to be the priest. So only a woman who loses her sense will hit a man. But a godly man, even if she reaches that place, he will rather walk away, knowing what he knows, than to hit. All right? So men ought to love their wives as their own what? Bodies. Is that biblical? Sure. How did Eve come about? How did Eve come about? The first anesthesiology surgery ever in history was done. He went into a deep sleep. God opened his side and took out a rib. Did God need that rib? So did God have a purpose to do it like that? So do you understand? Ought men are to love their wives as their own bodies? Because actually it is really so. He that loveth his wife loveth himself. So you see, woman liberation, I have a problem. It is from the enemy. It is from Satan. Proverbs 31, who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. You see this virtuous woman? Any woman who takes up woman liberation, a woman is a boss, can never be a virtuous woman. The heart of her husband doth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. Verse 12, she will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. And so, if a woman justifies her bad treatment of her husband because of his behavior and thinks she's justified, not in the eyes of the scripture. She does him good and not evil all the days of her life. Do you know a good woman? Not all the time, because we have to make a choice. A real good woman can turn a man from bad to better. If Christ is in her, and the gentler nature that God has made in a woman can bring a man down. Just as how the opposite is true. If she sells herself to Satan, she can bring down a godly man. That's what it is. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeketh wool and flax. What is that? What is wool? Comes from animal. What can you use it to do? Clothes. What is flax? Comes from seed of a plant. What can you use it to do? Linen. Make clothes. So why is she seeking wool and flax? This is a dressmaker. She gonna make clothes. You think she making short skirts? No, she's a virtuous woman. You think she making pants for women? No, she's a virtuous woman. She's gonna make woman garments, and work it willingly with her hands. You see, those who are of the woman liberation movement, they're not working like this. They're bosses in suits and pants, and they get maids and servants. They can't fill that role. 1890. In the 1890 and 19, between 1890 and 1920, how much years is that? 30 years. It's called the progressive era. You hear what it's called? What does the word progress? You're going forward. Yeah, so this is what they call progression. The new woman is often portrayed in pants. So, a part of woman progressing is to go from the skirt or the dress to the pants. All right? Here are some images, all of them. There it is. This is what they were pushing. Bicycle bloomers became quite popular in the 1890s. That's how it looked, all right? Women started to wear bicycles, no skirts. We don't want no long skirts. We're going to wear pants, easier to ride. There it is, right? The new woman was becoming, what's that word right there? Liberated. What does the word liberate means? Free. So what were they getting free from? Can you answer that? Huh? From being wives, stay at home. So what was wrong with those things? I think when the woman stayed home and she was a homemaker, the family was better. There's a statement that the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. Let me tell you something. Nothing gets to me like a woman who is not homely. You know. Can't clean. Can't cook. By the way, I can cook, so I'm not saying I need her to eat. But these things are necessary. I love to see a man that can do everything around the house. He'll cut this, tile this. Yeah, that's good. See, those are the different roles, different gender. That's how it's supposed to be. Right? And if I wasn't grown up in a certain way, sometimes it's how you're growing up. I wasn't growing up in a certain way to have those men around in my life that, I can learn to nail and saw and so forth. Then as I learn these things, I should get the desire to want to learn. You understand? See the difference? So let's go forward. So it says from Baltimore American Journal. Which year? 1895. Bicycle bloomers should be proud of the sensation they have created. So in 1895, these women started to dress like this, and it created a sensation. Why? They were breaking away from the norm. and nothing was wrong with the norm. They started to look like men. Bloomers should be proud of the sensation they have created. They appear as topics of earnest discussion on the lecture platform, in the club, and even in the pulpit. And the agitation is still growing. 1895. Not the silver question itself has more hopelessly divided families, separated friends, and made sworn enemies than the now end of the century theme, the bicycle bloomers. All right? Now, do you know the bloom, the word this, bloomers? Do you know it's someone's name? Let's go. So, Amelia Jenks Bloomer. I'm going to start give some assignments now. Amelia Jenks Bloomer was an American newspaper editor, women's rights and temperance advocate. So I've done my homework. So I'm reading my homework to you. So you have yours to do. Hold on. Amelia Jenks Bloomer was an American newspaper editor, woman rights. Woman what? Rights. Woman rights. What I'm talking about? Woman rights and temperance advocate. Even though she did not create the woman's clothing reform style known as bloomers, her name became associated with it because of her early and strong advocacy. A little more history. That's her right here. All right. Amelia Bloomer, 1818 to 1894. Amelia Jenks Bloomer was an early suffragist, editor, and social activist. Bloomer was also a fashion advocate who worked to change women's clothing style. Bloomer was born in Homer, New York, with only a few years of formal education. She started working as a teacher, educating students in her community. In 1840, she married David Bloomer and moved to Seneca Falls, New York. Bloomer quickly became active in the Seneca Falls political and social community. She joined a church and volunteered with the local temperance society. Noticing his wife's fervor for social reform, David encouraged her to use writing as an outlet. As a result, she started a column which covered a plethora of topics. In 1848, Bloomer went to the Seneca Falls Women's Rights Convention. The next year, she created The Lily, a newspaper solely dedicated to women. After she went to what? Women's Rights Convention. At first, the newspaper only addressed the temperance movement. However, due to demand, the bi-weekly paper expanded to cover other news. After meeting activist Elizabeth Cady Stanton, that's another name. That's another name in the woman activist right movement in the 19th century. Bloomer started to publish articles about the woman rights movement. In 1849, Bloomer's husband was elected postmaster for Seneca Falls. He immediately appointed his wife as his assistant. Bloomer used her office as a makeshift headquarters for the Seneca Falls woman rights movement. So you see where the dressing coming from? The change of it, woman rights movement. Today, popularly called woman liberation movement. Bloomer's most influential work was in dress reform. After noticing the health hazards and restrictive nature of corsets, and dresses, Bloomer pushed for women to adopt a new style of dress. So you see, she went to the next extreme to fix a problem that wasn't needed. And then it says the pantaloons, now called bloomers, not only illustrated a departure from the accepted dress for women, the garments also came to represent activists in the women's rights movement. The style of dress attracted much ridicule from conservative men and women. Look at this. It says, the new woman. You see that in parenthesis? The new woman. In her pants, is here portrayed as the boss of her hard-working husband. The pants and the pose speaks of authority and domination. Here's a woman. You see that? You see the man washing? Matter of fact, oh yes, there is, what is that comedian name? What's his name? That short black guy. What's his name? Yes. He did a movie recently. Recently, no. In the movie, he stays home and takes care of the children. So he's a stay-at-home dad, husband. And the wife is the professional and goes and works. That's how they do these things, through the movies, and they influence the mind. Now, is anything wrong with a man washing? No. Oh no, I wash, cook, clean. Nothing is wrong with it. As a matter of fact, men, make sure you can do it. All right? If you have a wife, young wife, she's pregnant, advanced, who's going to cook? What are you going to do? Get a maid? Get what? Who's going to clean? You should be able to do all of that. Men. But is there a problem with this picture? Yes. Oh, yes. There is definitely a problem with this picture. And it is anti-Bible, anti-God, anti-everything that's good. This picture here. Notice, and people use art. Notice that the new woman in her pants is tending to business matters, while the husband in a long skirt cares for the children. While this was meant to be funny, it also spoke to the concern people had when women put on pants. Here, this is a man, See the mustache there? You see that? Yeah, with the baby there. And there's a woman doing business in the pants. You see that? That's art, but it's powerful. It goes a far way. This is against God's order. All right, World War I. See down here? World War I from 1914 to 1918. Lasted for 4 years. Provided a new opportunity for women to wear pants, but most went back to dresses after the war. Tell me why. Tell me what was happening. Do you see the picture? Who can tell me what was happening? World War I. What happened? Bible class, hands up. Where's the mic? I can tell you, but I like you to get involved. Where's the hand? What was happening? You could have... Oh, go. All right, what was happening?
I believe what happened was because of the war, many of the men died. So the women now took up the work, the farming and
Is that mic on? I'm not sure.
You hear me? All right, so because of the World War I, many of the women took up the manly work because most of the men, they said at that time, died. So they start doing the farming and so forth.
Right, so yes, men died, but especially during the war period, many men were not home, all right? They were not present, and the family had to survive. Are you there with me? So the women, if you look, these are working women, They went out to work. But I want you to notice down here, most went back to dresses after the war. What happened after the war? Well, who died didn't come home, but husbands came back home, went back to work. Wives went home. So do you understand that for that time, there was a reason why? And that reason was different than the reason Amelia wants and the reason Elizabeth Stanton wants. This reason is different. This was for a functional purpose because men were not there and the women had to go to work, and they dressed like this for functional reasons, for work, and they went to work during that 4-year period. It was a tough time for the world. Germany started World War I, World War II, Germany again. All right, 1914 to 1918. This is a different situation. But what we're talking about, she wears the pants, is not this situation. All right? It's Satan with a plan, a scheme. Sister Patterson, you had something to say? Okay, all right. All right, so it says here, but what was it that really caused the transition from women wearing dresses as they had done for hundreds of years to the wearing of pants as is popular today. All right? It takes, come now, it takes organization and planning to win any war. So it was with the war over the right to wear pants by women. It took organization. Women declared in the 1850s that they were fighting for the right to dress as they please, which included dressing similar to men in pants. When you see this picture, what do you see? Half man. You see, this is Satan's plan, you know. Have you ever heard of amalgamation? And the days before the flood? Animal and amalgamation. Satan is confused. He's a confused being. Anybody he troubles, they get confused. He confuses the world. He confuses God's plan. Confusion. Look at that dress. See what it says? The day and night dream of the convention of the new era. It says, this drawing appeared in a newspaper in 1875, showing the gender blending dream of the woman rights visionary. I would run from that vision. That's scary. If that's what they're drawing to show me their vision, don't want none of that. All right? Satan is working. Women have gained the victory. They now can wear pants freely without any reprisal. This was not the case 100 years ago. So listen, the dress issue is not about present truth. I don't want you to have that in your head. Well, it's a present truth thing. No, it's a God thing. And it existed long before you and I. 1800s, we were not born. This is a fight that we have come to inherit that has continued. And God wants his church to lift up the standard. Can you follow that? And it shouldn't just be on Sabbath. It's every day of the week. Wherever you're going, you should remember. Sister Campbell.
Oh, happy Sabbath. You realize that women who want to wear the pants and actually wear the pants and are so-called feminists, because they were the one who started this movement. They're crazy people. They're really crazy people, because it started off by saying that they wanted equality. They wanted the opportunity to work and to compete with the men. And now it's gone to a place where they want to be men. And science has facilitated them becoming men. They're crazy people. Thank you.
Satan takes you further than you plan on going, cause you to spend more than you can afford. That is Satan. That is Satan. So it says they won the war. It did take a lot of organized effort behind the scenes to win this war. Let me read down here. Joan of Arc, it says, the fact that trousers are no longer taboo for women is the result of a long process led by trailblazers who fought, sometimes with their lives, wow, for the right to put on their pants one leg at a time. People would lose their life to wear on pants, man. Brother Edwards, what a fight. This is a serious thing. Life and death, eternal salvation. This is not about woman against man. It's about the great controversy. It's about heaven versus hell. It's about truth versus error. That's what it is. So women, when you think about these things, think about it in that light. Do you want to please the Lord or please yourself? All right. The fact that this was a serious war should not be missed. In our own Seventh-day Adventist periodical, them time the Seventh-day Adventists are Seventh-day Adventists. In our own Seventh-day Adventist periodical, the battles were fought. Listen, in the July 16, 1895, what issue? The July 16, 1895. That's a long time ago. In them time, the Adventism was Seventh-day Adventist. I can only imagine. Listen, in the July 16, 1895 issue of the Adventist Review and Sabbath Herald, the editor commented regarding the bicycle bloomers of that day, calling it a heaven-daring, outrageous, and most shameful innovation. Oh yeah, that sounds like calling it what it is, lifting your voice like a trumpet. Oh yeah, Seventh-day Adventist. And then he wrote, 1895, and I quote, "May the time be far distant. May it never come when Christian women who discern the signs of our times shall be seen in this abominable display." Oh yeah, Seventh-day Adventist, 1895. 3 months later, in the same periodical we find, and I read, "The devil is constantly trying to mix everything up, to destroy the line of demarcation between the male and female. God's people must not, now or ever, let the barriers down." 1895. You want me to show you how much the barrier's gone down? Watch this. Because before your feet start tapping and enough. There's no barrier left. There's no barrier left. There's no barrier left. We are just talking about dressing. I don't know if you look at some of the dressing in that, but there's no barrier left. There's no standard left. That's probably last Sabbath, you know. That's probably youth camporee or whatever. Yeah, that's Kencott. That's Saturday evening. There's no barrier left.
Happy Sabbath again. Boy, I tell you, spiritualism. You know, it is funny that all of who I am here looking, you know, be a young people the devil ever use, you know. Every single one of them gone. But by the mercy of God, we have a work before us. Because I can tell you, these people, when them get in this mesmerism, these music and these dress and these dance and these revival, false revival. They say church is boring. When you give them the hymns of Zion that would exalt the name of Jesus, they want to hear that. When you look at even the very presentation of how the people, the hair, the skirt, look at you see how them happy? I wonder if we see how the smiles on their faces. They think they're rich. This is what the Pentecostal church called charismatic. This is the so-called moving of the Holy Spirit, you know. Dangerous something. And when you tell them, when you bring the Bible truth to them, they can't even receive it because they're drunk. But we have a work before us. May God help us to get there.
Ellen White says, I saw a bedlam of noise. The senses of rational being gone, gone, gone. I know some of those young pastors. I was at school with them. And I can tell you, one young pastor said to me at the time, he says, Lecky, we coming out there, you know. We're going to have the churches and stuff. And people like you not going to survive. He was right. I'm not in it. He says, you're preaching here. And he's right. They're running churches now. And that's what we have. No more barriers.
You know, the devil has tried everything and he has succeeded to a great extent in messing up God's thing. I don't remember if it was last year or earlier this year, they had a similar, not something like this, in Knockpatrick, that church, where the entire congregation was speaking in tongues. Yes, Seventh-day Adventists. They had
I saw it.
fasting and prayer.
The woman pastor.
And the woman pastor. And the thing about it was that who was on the pulpit were not Seventh-day Adventists.
Yeah, she invited us Sunday.
They invited some Sunday persons from other. And so the church was speaking in tongues.
Yeah, I saw the video.
And and even with the flyer, then when they sent out the flyer, what you saw on the flyer. And so what we have done, the guard rails were taken down, and our great evangelical earthquake in 1945, when you had the inrush of all of this. And so everybody else who go back to the basics, get back to rebuild the repair of the breach, you're called fanatics, you're called offshoots, you're called all sorts of this. But this is what the Lord, and even the way how you're dressed, if you're ridiculed. But this is Satan's plan of getting everybody on his side. He said, what the world, Ellen White herself said, what the world needs now are men who will not be bought or sold, who are true to duty as a needle to the pole. And it's not only men, but biological, but God needs a people.
Yeah, it's generic. It's
and
all about it.
It's all of us. And the youth, he says, with an army of youth rightly trained. And so we realize Satan is doing his training. So what are we as God's people doing for our youth? If Satan is training, rightly training them for his purpose, then our youth should be rightly trained to build up the kingdom of God.
And that is why I know, and without trying to go back, those will know. That is why I know that even events of recent time was a great spiritual attack on the basis that if you can for one moment forget yourself and see the big picture of the great controversy, you understand what's happening. Satan wants to close down anything of light that will shine in a dark place with a difference. Because you see what you just saw? When I was in the church, which was not too long ago, those things, that didn't exist. You would never see that. So I'm saying the progression in apostasy since I've left, which was probably 2017, that's not a long time, has been rapid. Because they have now reached a place where no more voices is left. Because as somebody start to speak, even sounding like me or anybody with truth, they just close down quickly. That's where the church is. They just close you down. So the progression has been rapid. And I'm confident there will be a youth, an army of youth to finish the work. But it's not those young people. Now, what do I mean when I say that? Because I got to pause nowadays because people take what I say and do all sorts of things. What do I mean when I say that? Am I saying no young people that's in that video will finish the work? That's not what I'm saying. Many of them there are not knowledgeable. All right? God is going to provide an opportunity for them to learn. But as they are now, their senses are benumbed. They think they are praising God. So if the church has reached that place, then what do you think they'll do with a Bible class like this? Scoff. Oh, you're talking about, we'll pass that, old time something that. Now I'm showing you where we're coming from. Look at that. Look at what was written. Powerful, 1895 to this. Don't want to play it again. Oh, go. It says, we will now consider quite a few photos of famous women. Now I'm going to give the homework. Of famous women, celebrities, politicians, models, and the like, who were the soldiers. They were the what? Soldiers in this war to win the right to wear pants. I'm going to show you some of them. These were the trailblazers and trend setters, highly esteemed by society. They are praised and lauded as the very ones who made pants wearing popular for women. The fashions that society follows are highly influenced by these trend setters. Should we admire these women for their accomplishment? Question sign. Before we begin, my friend, you're here. What say you?
Question. When a young man, and it's go both ways, both male and female, grow up in the religion, live a Christian life, you see a man or a woman that you quote and they're up to standard. And after a year or two, Satan take over. And no matter what kind of prayer and fasting, either party won't change. Now, what should that person do? Stay and burn? We're not talking about like a old goat like me. It's about young people. Because them say, from you take the vow, divorce is not an option unless the other party is dead. No,
and we have the case of adultery.
Well, fornication or adultery, whatever it is. Now, what should these young people do? Just stay and burn?
Your question brings to mind or to light the seriousness of marriage as it relates to one's salvation. It also brings to light the individuality of a marriage situation that both persons must seek the Lord. It's not a crowd decision. Two people must have a connection with God and seek the Lord before going forward. Number 3, it also brings to light in our generation how easily people get out of marriage, which is another problem. As an issue comes up, divorce. God has a problem with that. Is there a place for divorce? Yes, but it's the last resort. Sometimes that has to be the case, even for the salvation of the soul. But what you ask is such a serious question. You know why? Because people can change. People can what? Change. You can marry a godly man for all purposes and intent, but the person can change. And this is why Ellen White says you double your prayer. When you're making this move, you do what? You double your prayer. Time is needed with the person to know, to see the good and the bad. Some of us have a fairy tale idea. But let me answer your question quickly. The answer is not to leave. That shouldn't be the first thing, but to fight through. Sometimes even separation is not divorce, to continue to fight through. Are you there with me? But as I said earlier, marriage is for spiritual people because it takes a lot of prayer, tears, struggle, sufferation. You know why? Two people are coming together with two different personalities, two different backgrounds, different defects in their character. They respond to crisis differently. One easier to get depressed, the other not so. All of those things coming together to become one. It's a miracle that only divine hands can do. The question is not to go out quickly, but to fight. One of the problems with this generation, you see when you see older person and they've been married for, and we like to interview them. How long you been married? 60 years. We say, wow. We say wow for two reasons. One, marriages today end so quickly. So what a feat to have reached 60 years. And number two, some of us think it's Disney World. 60 years must have been, and then the person saying, boy, there were rough days. There were this, there were that. But you know what? You know what that generation had that we don't have? They fought through. They prayed and waited for the change. They did what they could when they could until the change. God was a very important thing in those older days in marriages. Today, it's superficial. It's a lot of us like the picture. So people like to go pretty face, pretty face, pretty face. They look nice in the picture and all of that. But there's a thing called love that transcends these things. When one loses a hand, a foot, one gets sick, love is what will keep it.
The B part of this question, as you said, separation is needed sometime. But what happens when you separate and the other party go out, get involved, a child get involved, and you're waiting? What are you waiting on? Cemetery?
Let's just put it this way. Each marriage situation needs individual attention. There's no one blanket answer. All right? So where were we? Oh, the homework now. Let's go. Let's start. All right. 3 women. Elizabeth Smith Miller. This is her here. Middle one, Amelia Bloomer. See her there? You see their apparel? And the third one, Elizabeth Cady Stanton. She's right there. Now, homework. Who's taking Elizabeth Smith Miller? You're going to go research this name on the background of the woman rights movement, so forth. When you come next week, you're going to stand up and just give a short thing of what you found out. And let me make it clear. Very simple, teacher. I don't stress myself. If I say who taking and nobody taking, I'm going to give. All right? So let's go again. And remember, I'm seeing all of your face. It's a good vantage point. All right? Let's do this now. Who's taking Elizabeth Smith Miller? Who's taking Elizabeth Smith Miller? All right, it's my time to choose. All right. Sister Karen, you're going to write down names of the people who took the name. So when we come Sabbath, we're going to do it. So first person, Elizabeth Smith Miller. Yes. What's your name again, my sister? Sister Carol took Elizabeth Smith Miller. What are you going to do? Tell me what's your assignment. Right. You're going to research her on the background. Because if you put in Elizabeth Smith Miller on Google, a lot of things are going to come up. So you're going to have to put in her name and put the temperance movement, or woman rights movement, or dress reform. That's what you're going to have to do. So the computer can zero in. All right? You got that, Sister Carol? All right, good. Amelia Bloomer. Oh, no. Nobody can take that. I did that already. I read that a while ago. I got you there. All right. Elizabeth Stanton. Somehow these people have the same name and probably the same character. Elizabeth Stanton. Who's taking that? Come, woman. You're helping yourself, you know. You're helping yourself when you do this. Make sure some people come church next week. Sister Walters. Same assignment for all the names. You're going to research the name on the background of the same temperance movement, dress reform and stuff, and see what part they played. So you're, Sister Walters, you're taking Elizabeth Stanton? No, man, no try. You're taking Elizabeth Stanton? Sister Karen? So Walters, all right. All right, 3 more names. We got enough women inside here. Lizzie Stamp. This is 1860. All right, come, Sister Morgan. We got to go fast. I'm going. Lizzie Stamp. Sister Morgan. Go ahead. Take Lizzie Stamp. All right. Be a part of the Bible class next week. All right. Lucy Russell. You know that name, Sister Keisha? Do you know Lucy Russell? Right. So you're going to get to know Lucy Russell. All right. Write down Lucy Russell there. All right. Sister Matthew Ann. You see what I'm saying? These people, like they have the same name and the same character. Why? Elizabeth. Lucy. All right. You know Lucy Stone? Sister Matthew Ann, you ever met her? Lucy Stone. You know her? Meet her. Meet her and tell me about her next week. Matthew Ann, Lucy Stone, help me with the Bible class next week. Again, the assignment is the same. With the name you got, I'm going to research about her part that she played in the woman temperance movement, women rights, dress reform. All right, Lucy Stone. And even though you can't see there because it's dark, she has a pants, just like them. Pants underneath, right? That's Lucy Stone. All right. Who else with Dr. Harriet Hostin? That's a woman there, 1860. Huh? Yeah, man, it's her time. I can't remember her name, that's the problem. But it's she. She, put your hand up, she just touched you. Put your hand way up. She touched you, I saw, you can't hide. Just put your hand way up, that's your person to take. But what's your name again? Yes, Sister Morrison. There you go. You got a doctor. Go and meet the doctor. Dr. Harriet Austin. What role did she play in temperance movement, dress reform? Dr. Harriet Austin. All right, let's go forward. Helping me in the back. Mary Tillot's son. Woman rights activist. All right. I love when they help me. See? Life is easier. Sister Melissa, someone called your name here. Mary. You see, Melissa is M. Mary is M. You see that? That works well. So Mary Tillot's son, 1860. What did she do? Look underneath. Woman's rights activist. So you can just type into Google, Mary Tillot's son, woman rights activist. Bam, search. All right? All right. Dr. Mary Walker. You remember this person last week? Mary Walker wears the pants. That's her, you know. It's two pictures. This is her, 1865, and this is her 5 years after, 1870. Woman rights activist. Who's taking Dr. Mary Walker? Dr. Mary Walker. Who's taking that one? Sister Petro. You see, Sister Green. In class, when you want not to get an assignment, you look at the teacher. You look at the teacher. So the teacher not going to look at you. But if you're looking away, you're looking over there, you're looking away, you're going to get picked. All right? So Dr. Mary Walker. See, 1865, 70. There it again. Women's rights activists. These are some of the popular people who played a part in women wearing pants. All right, Calamity. Who gonna take Calamity? Sister Patterson. Yes. Take the Calamity. Calamity Jane. What a name. All right, the noise. So you see what it says here? Vaudeville actress. All right? Calamity Jane. What a name. 1890. That looks like a man, you know. That's a woman. All right? That's a woman. All right? That's what started to happen. That's what started to happen. Sister Campbell said it the best. They started to dress like men, and now they're turning themselves into men. Right? That looks like a man, but that's Calamity Jane. Right, Sister Patterson? Calamity. All right. And then, look here. This was a fellow group. Look, you see the women? You see them? Fellows. It was a lesbian singing group. I'd like to hear a little history about the fellows. Fellow. You know who you normally refer to as fellow? Man. A man. They call the group fellows. And this is 1890. There is nothing new on the sun. I figure in 1890, as lesbians, you see, let me show you. You see, as they started to change the dressing, they started to change I'm hearing too much noise. Okay? They started to change their sexual orientation. You see what Satan did? And he started with the dressing. See what I'm talking about? It's important. So who's going to take this lesbian singing group? Mr. Edwards, you like singing? No. It would be good for you to research on this group, you know, Sister Edwards, and tell us next week just a little of what. It's not a lot of thing, you know, just tell us something, small thing. I call on you next week, and you say, Pastor, see this lesbian group was singing in this period. These were some of the things that they were involved with, what they promoted in their singing XYZ. All right? So you see, it went from actress to singers. To singers. All right? Fellows. All right. This is actresses. Amazons. Amazon. Do you see these women? Look at that. All like men. This is 1896. So it's coming closer to us. Look. 1860, 70, 90, 90, 96. It's coming closer to home. We're going to soon get into the 1900, probably not today. All right? Who's taking the Amazons? Amazon. To make sure the person is coming back next week, you know. We have some of our lovely Montego Bay people with us. I'm not sure of having them next week. See what I'm saying, Sister Brown? So Darrington, next person. We might not have these people with us next week. Research is good. You'll never forget. You see, here's what I'm doing. I'm making you a part of it. You know I could have researched them. Too much noise. Somebody's talking. You know I could have researched them and just read it from the screen. But when you do it, it becomes a part. You know what's going to happen? You might click in one of the name and more things come up. And you start to read. And you just start to read. And it helps you. That's what I'm doing. And I'm being purposeful by letting the woman take that. Right, Sister Brown? Amazon. Which Brown? She's looking right at me. Sitting at the back. Right there between the two men. See that? All right? So she knows the Amazons are for her. All right? (1920s). Can you imagine that, Sister Simone? The Greta Garbo. All right, come down. Greta Garbo, an actress. An actress. Greta Garbo. All right? Those down there help her. She had to get her homework, you know. I just see her coming in. So Greta Garbo, all right? That's not a woman. That's not how a woman should look. Are you there with me? And she's an actress. So you see, when these things start to happen, people want to emulate it. So Sister Simone going to tell us a little bit. This is 1920s. This is 102 years ago. Right? So Simone going to tell us a little bit about Greta Garbo as it relates to the temperance movement, dress reform, those times. Women wearing pants. All right? All right. Clara Bow. Clara Bow. Sister Antonelle. No, that name somehow gets attached to your name. Clara Bow. Flapper. She's an actress. An actress in pants. Right there. This is 1929. This is 1929. It's getting closer. Not going to happen today because we're coming to the end, but I'm going to bring it closer to our time. You see the year? This is where we reach now. 1929. Clara Bow as an actress. All right, we're at the last slide for today, this evening, but we want to read this from Selected Messages, Book 2, page what? 477, paragraph 8. It says, in this style of dress, look at it, pants, So let me tell you what Satan does. Listen how Satan works. Watch this, First, the skirt was down here, correct? Yeah. Then Satan pulled it up a little, but he never exposed the legs because you had pants. Watch what Satan did. Then Satan took away all of that and left straight pants. Then after a while, he cut off piece of the pants, cut off piece of the pants, and carried all the way up to the hip. That's how Satan works, That's how he works. And he doesn't mind to take his time over 100 years. Because all Satan has is time. So the prophetess was talking about this. Look at the style of dress. Look at the style of dress. I'm going back to these ladies here. Do you see them? Look, you see them? These ladies, you see them? Same thing. Do you see it? Look at the style of dress. Look. Same thing. These women in the activist rights movement. And then the pants came. See? There it is. Same style. Then the pants came fully. As the years went by, the pants came. See? The pants came. It came fully. Fully pants. But look at this. Same thing. See? In this style of dress, God's order has been reversed. And his special directions disregarded. You remember the text? Deuteronomy 22 verse 5. The woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment. For all that do so are abomination unto the Lord thy God. This style of dress, do you see it? God would not have his people adopt. It is not modest apparel, and is not at all fitting for modest, humble females who profess to be Christ followers. And all females who are going to heaven will be modest and humble. All right? Females who profess to be Christ followers. God's prohibitions are lightly regarded by all who would advocate the doing away of the distinction of dress between males and females. One of the things you must say, you can get upset with me, perturbed with me. When is he going to stop? Every afternoon, dress. But at the end of the day, I gave you the history. You saw it for yourself, Bible and the testimonies. And so you cannot reject me because I never gave you me. But you can reject God and his counsels. And in the end, you will have that to deal with. All right, we have a question.
Yeah, hello. Right, just wanted to say that I liked the study. It was quite informative, and I think there was someone earlier who was speaking to the couple that would have been married but not Christian couple who got married. And I mean, I'm no authority, I'm just sharing thoughts that came as she mentioned that. I remember the scripture that speaks to God lets his rain fall on the just as well as the unjust. And I was thinking that God is the one who creates and makes all the laws that govern the entire universe. And whether you acknowledge him as the creator of the laws, if you apply them, even if you don't give him the credit for them, they're still going to benefit you. So he created the laws that deal with procreation. And if you follow those laws, whether you're giving him the glory or not, it's going to benefit you. Because he makes his rainfall on the just and on the unjust. And I was just thinking about the last comment that, or the statement that was made about a young couple who is married and you're having some issues coming up. And I mean, I kind of relate because I remember having some issues, and I realized that part of I had a Seventh-day Adventist, one of my very close friends, who would have given me, I would say, the greatest gift, marriage gift, gave me a book entitled The Resolution for Men. And in that book, I thought it really helped to save my marriage when I was going through some things. Because I recognized that I was being selfish, and in recognizing that, and also the book speaks to men, we have a greater responsibility in the marriage. So the success of our marriage, and especially because you mentioned young men or young couples, we have to come to acknowledge that, especially as the men, we are going to be held more accountable. As the scriptures say, to whom much is given, much is expected. And I just wanted to share that because it was just on my mind. And I was thinking that if it is able to help any young couple out there, that book is a very good book. It has helped me a lot, The Resolution for Men. And you answered the question very well as well, because it comes down to selfishness, I believe. Where you said when you get married, and even with God, you have to die to self. And when we have that selfishness, we go to the altar with the acceptance that for good, for better or for worse, we're going to be in this together. But we lie because when worse comes, we want to bail. But when worse comes, if we accept, this is what I've found anyway, when I started to accept that, because I used to look and say, you know what, I used to entertain thoughts that if this marriage fail, I mostly fear our fault. But then when I started to kind of backtrack and realize that if this marriage fails, I'm more responsible. So it cannot fail under my watch. And when we probably start to look now, instead of, as Christ would have said, we can see the speck in our brother's eye, but not the plank that is in our own. And I find that that was even something that was in my own life. I was seeing all of my wife's problems, not seeing my own. And it's not until I started to kind of just realize that I need to start taking accountability and responsibility. And in doing that, it made a huge difference where I started to kind of feel like we started to get to a better place. I started to not entertain the negatives to say, oh, because yes, you're seeing the other party's issues, but then if you can move away from those issues and say, how can I now be accountable for making sure that this marriage can succeed, and what I can do, because rightly you can't change the other party, but by you changing, it may very well lead to, as you had said, you can change a person. God's spirit and God's love within you, you doing what you can do, which is the right thing, regardless of what the other party is doing, it can bring about change. So I just wanted to add that. As I say, I'm not no authority, just adding what the thought that came.
Thank you. Amen.
Is there enough time?
2 minutes.
No, I was only giving a personal experience because, as you said before, all marriages are to be dealt with in its own section. I was married. I met my wife working at camp. She was the auditor. I was a color sergeant in the Coast Guard. No, any day or any hour she want me, she can go to the radio room and call me, because we are on the sea. Anything we want, the Coast Guard chopper can come. Her cousin came from Canada, was doing some cavalry singing down here, and she brought down a friend. Now she went with the friend, and I don't know how much time, but she eventually got pregnant. Now, she didn't call me and say, well, she make a mistake that I could say, let us talk about it. She sell out everything, she draw out everything out of the bank, and she carried the 4 pit to go to Canada. Now, the family hate me because when she wanted to come back, after go through all them abuse and chuck wreck and chassis twist up, they wanted me to come back and take back. I don't run a body shop. No, I don't know what I'm doing it. When this was a pure land, she ran from it. Now it becomes a mausoleum and a graveyard. What she doing with it? So I don't understand when they say it can make up and patch back. And we're talking reality. This is real reality. After you go there and bend up and chas up and beat up and then say you buy new parts. When her mother died, she couldn't come. When her father died and she come, she bought it. This is a Portland, actually, white woman. Here, catch her down the back. She peel off her head and she have a cut from here. You remember whole time telephone cut? From behind her ears come on her neck. And her left hand break out 3 plates, like a crank angle. When you do that, I mean I grind beef. Her family started to curse me and say I was cold.
All right.
Different experiences. Take it one thing.
All right, different experiences.
Right. Just want to add to what was just said, because I know that at the end of the day, you said it actually.
We have to close up,
yeah.
so quickly.
You said it. God knows the heart of man, and that is why God said he will allow divorce. It's not what he wants, none at all. So if we can reconcile, God says simply because of the hardness of our heart why I'm allowed divorce. But if we can forgive, no matter how hard and tough, no matter whatever the situation is, if you can find it in your heart to forgive, God wants that reconciliation, just like how he can forgive us, and you said it rightly. So no matter what the person do, them could have cheated on you 10, 15, 20, 40 times. If you can find it in your heart to forgive, that is what God wants. If you can't find it in your heart to forgive, then God allows the divorce.
All right. So I want us to understand, I'm under a little pressure here because the time is going and the whole thing is opening up. If you realize I'm not commenting because the time, right? We have moved from dressing to marriage. And that's okay, but the time. You wanted to... All right, last comment, Brother Campbell, quickly, and then I'll pray.
All right, good evening again. So I just wanted to share, and I think the scripture might even help based on what I'm seeing is happening. Numbers 30, verse 2. If a man vow a vow unto God, or swear by an oath to bind his soul, he shall not break his word, but do according to all that proceeded out of his mouth. Why? Because this is recorded unto God, before God, and he holds you at your word. So I am going to say to us, count the cost before you do it.
All right, let us pray. Loving Lord, eternal Father, may as we learn, study, and grow, that it will not just be for knowledge's sake. May in the end, the objective of heaven be fulfilled through us. That is the full reflection of the character of Jesus Christ. Lord, the work you begun in us, finish it to the end. Save us, for we have nowhere else to go, and we have no better place to run but to you, our shepherd, our Savior, and our soon coming King. I pray in Jesus' name. Amen.